They had no idea they were walking into a trap set by the same business mind that had built what they were trying to steal. I looked at Alexa's drawing on my refrigerator, our stick-figure family standing beside a crooked house. Tomorrow would determine whether that little girl grew up with a grandfather who protected her, or parents who taught her that family loyalty could be bought and sold. Ellen's voice echoed from 3 years ago. "Promise me you'll always take care of Alexa." I intended to keep that promise. Monday morning arrived, cold and gray. I hadn't slept much, but when Catherine Davis arrived at 9:45 with her notary seal, I felt completely prepared. "Good morning, Norman. Beautiful home office," she said, setting up. James Miller knocked precisely at 10 o'clock, carrying his banker's portfolio. "Morning, Norman. Ready for that portfolio review?" "More ready than you know," I replied, positioning myself behind my desk as footsteps approached the front door. Harry and Mary entered with confident smiles and their leather document case. They paused when they saw Catherine and James, but Mary quickly recovered. "How thoughtful of you to arrange professional assistance," she said smoothly. "This will make everything so much more official." "Indeed it will," I replied, my voice strong, completely lacking yesterday's confused frailty. Harry settled into the chair across from my desk. "Dad, you sound much better today. More like your old self." "Exactly like my old self. Sharp, observant, capable." I leaned forward, meeting his eyes directly. "Which is why I need to tell you something before we sign any documents." Mary's pen stopped moving. "Norman, what's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong with me, Mary. But I'm completely aware of your plan." The silence was heavy. Harry's smile vanished. "Dad, what plan?" "We're here to help you. I know about your visit to James' bank last Tuesday. I know about the guardianship procedures you researched. I know about the mental competency evaluations you plan to arrange." Harry's face drained of color. Mary tried to save it. "Norman, you're confused. We visited the bank about our own financial planning." "James," I interrupted, turning to my friend, "would you mind sharing what they discussed during their Tuesday afternoon appointment?" James cleared his throat professionally. They asked detailed questions about conservatorship procedures, documentation requirements for declaring someone mentally incompetent, and expedited court processes for emergency financial management. Catherine looked up, alert. "Mr. Price, are you saying these power of attorney documents were prepared under false pretenses?" "I'm saying they planned to have me declared incompetent so they could steal everything I've worked 40 years to build." Harry's voice was strangled. "Dad, we were worried about you. Yesterday you seemed so confused. Yesterday I was performing. Today you're seeing who I really am." I pulled out the documentation I'd prepared. 247 transactions over 3 years, $70,000 in support payments. These were not legitimate family expenses. These were conditioning payments, training me to say yes to increasingly larger amounts until I'd agreed to sign away my independence. I looked directly at Mary. "You researched exactly how to have me institutionalized while you divided my assets." James spoke quietly. "Norman, the questions they asked were very specific. They knew legal terminology that most families never encounter unless they're planning something significant." The room fell silent except for Harry's labored breathing. He finally saw the businessman he'd been trying to rob. "What happens now?" he whined. "Now we discuss consequences," I repeated, retrieving the legal documents I'd prepared over the weekend. "I'm changing my will immediately. My entire estate will go into an educational trust for Alexa, accessible when she turns 21. Harry leaned forward desperately. "Dad, please. We made mistakes, but we can fix this. The trust will provide for her college education, graduate school if she chooses, and startup funds for whatever career path she chooses." I spread the new will documents across my desk. "Catherine, I need these witnessed and notarized." Mary's voice cracked. "Norman, you can't do this to your own family." "I'm protecting my family," I said firmly, "from parents who were willing to steal her grandfather's independence to fund their lifestyle." Catherine examined the documents. Mr. Price, these terms are quite specific. There are conditions attached. If Harry and Mary formally renounce all claims to my estate and demonstrate genuine change over the next year, I'll reconsider. But they must prove they've become the parents Alexa deserves. James nodded approvingly as he witnessed my signature. The educational trust structure is excellent. She'll have every opportunity. Harry buried his face in his hands. What does genuine change mean? How do we prove that? By getting jobs that actually support your family instead of depending on me. By prioritizing Alexa's happiness over your own financial desires. By showing me that my granddaughter matters more to you than my bank account. The mortgage assistance ends today. The car payments stop immediately. You're both adults with college degrees. Figure it out. Catherine finished notarizing the documents. Everything is legally binding now. The spreadsheet grew, column after column of dates, amounts, and categories. The total, the number that appeared at the bottom of the spreadsheet, was staggering. It wasn't just the few thousand I'd guessed. It was over $185,000 over 5 years. The wedding, the Sacramento house payments, the car, the business capital. I stared at the number, not with rage, but with a horrifying clarity. That wasn't just money, it was 5 years of my life. 5 years of working, worrying, and suppressing my own dreams, all so they could avoid growing up. My new villa, my $2.8 million reward, was silent around me. The sun was fully up now, turning the ocean to shimmering gold. I was finally free, but the price of that freedom was the realization that my daughter and son-in-law had been using me all along. The betrayal was an expensive lesson, but I was done paying tuition. "Your father has gone crazy and won't let us in," shouted my son-in-law, Michael, standing in front of the door of my new villa with his friends and suitcases. They had come for a month's vacation without my permission, expecting a free paradise. I told them to leave, and 30 minutes later, the police arrived. The coastal highway curves like a promise. I gripped the steering wheel tighter as the Pacific opened up before me. $2.8 million. The villa waited 3 blocks ahead, perched above Carmel by the sea like a reward I'd finally earned. I parked and just sat there. At 62, I was finally learning what freedom tasted like. I lifted a box labeled "Kitchen" and started up the walkway. The villa's cream-colored facade glowed. Then I saw the suitcases. They sprawled across my front porch like a hostile occupation. 3 large bags, duffels, beach chairs, and a massive cooler. I froze mid-step. The door opened. Michael stood there, sunglasses pushed up into his sandy hair, wearing board shorts and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Behind him, 2 men I recognized, Brandon and Kyle, hovered awkwardly. "Hey, Hubert." Perfect timing. Michael leaned against my doorframe. "We were just figuring out who gets which bedroom. Amanda said you wouldn't mind us crashing here for the month. Amazing place, by the way." My mouth opened. "What are you talking about? I never agreed to this. You need to leave." Michael's smile broadened, but his eyes went flat. "Come on, don't be like that. It's a huge place. You won't even know we're here. Besides, Amanda already told everyone we'd be here." Brandon and Kyle shifted. They knew this wasn't right. "This is my home," I said, setting the box down. "I did not invite you. You need to pack up and leave now." Michael stepped forward. "You're seriously doing this? After Amanda talked about how generous you are? Hold on. Let me call her. She'll straighten this out." He pulled out his phone and put it on speaker. "Michael, what's wrong?" Amanda's voice cut through the wind. "Hey babe, your dad's acting really weird. He's saying we can't stay." "What? Put him on." I didn't take the phone. Michael held it between us. "Dad, what is wrong with you?" Michael said you're acting crazy. They drove 6 hours. You're really going to embarrass me like this. After everything I've done for you, the phrase hit like a slap. I struggled to recall anything she'd done besides accepting my money. "Amanda, I never agreed to this. You never asked. This conversation is over." "Over?" Her voice went shrill. You called the police on Michael, your own son-in-law. Wait, you're going to, aren't you? That's what this is. The thought hadn't formed, but now that she'd said it, the idea crystallized. If you do this, if you humiliate my husband, don't expect to be part of this family anymore. I mean it. We were going to tell you something important this weekend. But now, forget it. You just proved you don't deserve good news. Michael was watching me closely. I thought about the 5 years they'd lived in my Sacramento house. The just until we get on our feet excuse that never ended. Goodbye, Amanda. I pressed the red button myself. Michael stared at the dead phone. You just made a huge mistake, old man. I turned, walked back to my car, and dialed 911. I have trespassers on my property, 3 men who refuse to leave. My voice was flat, mechanical. I stayed in the car until the patrol car rolled up. A single officer emerged, Detective Kowalski. Michael rushed toward him, arranging his face into reasonable concern. I got out more slowly, holding the manila folder with my closing documents. Kowalski listened to Michael briefly, then turned to me. Mr. Coleman, can you show me proof of ownership of this property? Certainly. I handed him the deed. I closed on this purchase 3 days ago. I never gave anyone permission to be here. He examined the papers, then addressed Michael. Sir, do you have any written agreement, lease, or documentation showing you have permission to be on this property? It's his daughter, my wife. This is a family property. You can't just kick family out. Actually, sir, without the owner's permission, you're trespassing. I'm going to have to ask you to gather your belongings and leave immediately. This is insane. Michael's voice rose. Brandon and Kyle were already grabbing bags. You're taking his side. We drove all the way from Sacramento. We were invited. By whom? Is Amanda on the deed? Silence. The detective turned to me. Do you want to press charges? No. I just want them gone. Michael slammed a suitcase closed. You just destroyed your own family, old man. Don't come crying when you're alone. I stood there, watching them load the last bags. Kowalski waited until the silver SUV disappeared before handing back my documents. I picked up my kitchen box and carried it inside. The villa was silent, empty. I sat on the couch and stared at the ocean. My phone rang at midnight. Amanda's name glowed on the screen. How could you do this to us? You called the police on Michael, your own son-in-law. Do you have any idea what you've done? He's humiliated. I think you're crazy. I listened to her rage. We were going to tell you soon. I might be pregnant. And you just proved you don't deserve to be a grandfather. You won't see these children ever. The lie was obvious. We'd discussed grandchildren 6 months ago, and she was adamant about waiting. Amanda, stop. Just stop. I know you're not pregnant, and I know what you're trying to do. It won't work anymore. What won't work? Caring about my family. You didn't want a relationship. You wanted a vacation house. The silence stretched. When she spoke again, her voice was colder. Fine. You want to be alone? You want to lose your only daughter? You've got it. Don't call me. Don't text. We're done. Goodbye, Amanda. I ended the call before she could. Sleep wouldn't come. I stood at the railing, watching moonlight silver the waves. I let my mind work through the numbers I'd been avoiding. 5 years in my Sacramento house, never a utility bill paid. Property taxes I'd covered. The new roof, the HVAC system, Amanda's car payment. I thought I was being a good father, supportive, generous. Dawn broke pink and gold. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and started pulling financial records. 5 years of bank statements, credit card bills, and property documents. Every transaction involving Amanda or Michael. The spreadsheet grew, column after column. The number that appeared at the bottom was staggering. Over $185,000. That wasn't just money. It was 5 years of my life. I was finally free, But the price of that freedom was the realization that my daughter and son-in-law had been using me all along. The betrayal was an expensive lesson, but I was done paying tuition. What final steps do you think Hubert should take to legally and financially protect himself after this realization? My coffee went cold as I worked, but I didn't stop to reheat it. The numbers told a story I'd refused to read before, a careful, deliberate pattern of extraction masked as family love. By 8 in the morning, I had 5 years of data organized. By 9, I'd calculated the total. By 10, I was searching Property Rights California. The legal websites were clear. They had no claim. Living in my house didn't grant them tenancy rights without a lease or rent. I searched Eviction Process California, then Family Law Attorney Sacramento. The first results specialized in elder financial abuse. The term made me flinch, but I clicked anyway. I called the attorney on Monday morning, 3 days after the villa confrontation. The drive back to Sacramento took 2 hours. My briefcase, now holding 5 years of financial evidence, sat on the passenger seat. The point is, you're putting your grandchild at risk with this vindictive behavior. If you're genuinely pregnant, we can discuss how I might help, I said. After you've moved out, and we've established proper boundaries. The notice stands. The tears dried instantly. You're really going to choose pride over your own grandchild? Fine. When this baby never knows their grandfather, remember that you did this. She left, without taking the ultrasound photo. A stock image, I was certain. The deadline approached. Day 27, 28, 29. They packed nothing. I overheard Michael on the phone. He'll fold. My father-in-law has been caving to Amanda her whole life. This is just him having a moment. We'll ride it out. Day 31 arrived. I woke at 6 o'clock, dressed in a suit, and walked through the Sacramento house one final time. They had called my bluff. I drove to Patricia's office. She met me in the lobby, ready. The 30 days are up. They're still in the house. We file for unlawful detainer today and get a court date as soon as possible. Let's do it. I followed her to the conference room. The paperwork was already prepared. The legal language translated to a simple fact. They had to leave. I paid the $435 filing fee. Court would schedule a hearing within 20 days. I wrote the check, signed the documents. Patricia's assistant took everything to the courthouse while we reviewed evidence. The ignored 30-day notice, the compliance failure, and the security camera footage of Michael damaging the heater. We'll need to serve them the lawsuit papers, Patricia explained. She had hired a process server who delivered the documents 3 hours later. I spent 2 weeks at the Carmel Villa trying not to think about the coming confrontation. The court date arrived by mail. Early May, 9 a.m., Department 14. Amanda continued her public campaign on social media, posting screenshots of the lawsuit and captions like, "Being sued by my own father. He'd rather destroy his family than show compassion." Patricia received a call from Amanda's budget lawyer, Russell Graves, who tried negotiating a rent payment plan. Patricia's response was immediate. The answer is no. We'll see you at the hearing. I arrived early at the Sacramento County Courthouse. Patricia met me, reviewing strategy. Stay calm. Answer questions directly. Don't get emotional. The law is on our side. Amanda and Michael arrived, with Michael in an ill-fitting suit and Amanda playing the role of the wronged daughter. Judge Teresa Hartwell presided, late 50s, with the bearing of someone who had seen every family drama imaginable. The case was called Coleman versus Foster, Unlawful Detainer. Russell Graves argued that this was a family matter and there was an implied agreement for them to reside there indefinitely. Patricia rose smoothly. Your Honor, there was no agreement implied or otherwise. The defendant is an adult who has lived rent-free for 5 years without contributing to property costs. The plaintiff provided proper notice. The law is clear. She presented evidence. The property deed, 5 years of utility and tax payments in my name, the 30-day notice, and photos showing their belongings still filling the house after the deadline. Judge Hartwell questioned Amanda. Ms. Foster, did you pay your father any rent during the 5 years you lived in his house? No, but he never asked for rent. He's my father. Families help each other. Did you pay the property taxes or utilities on the home? No, Your Honor, but... The judge cut her off. This is a property rights case, counselor, not a family therapy session. After reviewing the documents for 3 minutes, she looked up. The court finds for the plaintiff. This is straightforward. The defendants will vacate the property within 15 days. If they fail to comply, the sheriff will enforce the court's order. The gavel came down. Outside the courtroom, Amanda came toward me, her voice shaking. You actually did this. You took me to court. You're not my father anymore. You're a stranger. I gave you every opportunity to handle this differently. You chose this path. Michael pulled her away, muttering about appeals. Patricia and I left. Clean victory, she confirmed. Russell Graves filed the appeal 3 days later, but Patricia assured me it was just noise and would not stop the eviction. The court clerk rejected their motion for a stay of execution within 48 hours. The 15-day order stood. I returned to the Sacramento house 8 days before the deadline. Amanda and Michael were watching television. A few empty boxes sat in the corner, but they had packed almost nothing. You have 8 days left. Have you found a place to live? Michael didn't look up. We're handling it. 5 days later, I returned to document the lack of progress. Michael followed me aggressively, trying to provoke a reaction. What are you doing? Taking pictures? Playing detective? Come on, take a swing. I stopped, turned, and spoke quietly. Step back, Michael. I'm not doing this with you. He backed away, shouting as I left. The security footage confirmed his strategy: provoke a physical incident to use against me. 3 days before the deadline, I received a long email from Amanda, filled with childhood memories and a final plea. You said you'd always be there when I needed you. I need you now, Dad. Please don't do this. If you go through with this, I'll know you never really loved me. I felt the old instinct to rescue her, but I remembered the $185,000, the fake pregnancy, and Michael's smirk. The pattern was undeniable. I replied, You've had multiple chances to make different choices. The decision stands. I hope you find your way, but it won't be at my expense. The deadline arrived on a Wednesday. I met Patricia at the house at 8 a.m. Sheriff's deputies arrived at 9 a.m. Amanda answered the door, looking disheveled. We need more time. We're trying. Please. Ma'am, you were given 15 days by court order. You need to leave now. The deputies explained the process. Take what fits in their vehicle. Remaining items go to storage at their expense. They moved frantically for 2 hours, packing their car until the trunk barely latched. I stood near Patricia's car, watching. Michael drove away. Amanda paused, turned, and looked at me, pure, cold hatred in her eyes. She didn't say a word, just got in the car. I spent the afternoon inspecting the house. Inside, the final act of petty revenge was visible. Deep scratches on the hardwood, deliberate gouges in the drywall, kitchen cabinets pulled crooked, and broken dishes left in the sink. My grandfather's pocket watch and a vintage camera were missing. Small thefts, but deeply personal. Total damage was estimated at $3,000 to $4,000. I spent the evening making lists and calling contractors. The realtor came the next day, and I signed the listing agreement. Several days later, my cousin Janet called, judgmental. Hubert, I heard Amanda and Michael are struggling. They're in some tiny apartment. Michael lost his job. How can you be so cold? It's not cold. It's necessary. They're adults. I'm not responsible for fixing their problems anymore. Amanda and Michael had rented a small apartment, with Michael having lost his car sales job before the eviction. They had no savings buffer. 5 years of free housing had left them completely unprepared for reality. Over the next 2 weeks, Amanda tried reaching out repeatedly via text, voicemail, and email. I deleted the messages. The 4th attempt was in person. I was meeting the contractor at the Sacramento house when she appeared on the porch, worn and thin. Please, just 5 minutes. I need to talk to you. Amanda, We have nothing to discuss right now. I closed the door, heard her crying on the other side. She stayed for several minutes before leaving. That evening, I blocked her number. Late May, I met Patricia for the final trust documentation. This trust structure protects your assets completely, Patricia explained. Upon your death, 80% goes directly to the Veterans Foundation, 20% to Amanda. No one can contest it or change it successfully. This is ironclad. Your wishes will be carried out exactly as specified. The Veterans Foundation, an organization supporting homeless veterans, would receive $3.2 million, enough to build real solutions. Amanda would receive $800,000, enough to be comfortable if managed wisely, not enough to waste carelessly. The signing took 15 minutes. Documents slid into a formal folder. You've done good work here, Hubert. You protected yourself and created something meaningful from a difficult situation. I walked out into the late afternoon sun, feeling a lightness in my chest. Not happiness, but peace. Freedom isn't free. But standing here in the sunshine, folder under my arm, future secured, I knew it was worth every painful step. Early June, I was enjoying the rhythm of life in Carmel. The Sacramento house had attracted multiple offers, with closing scheduled for mid-July. I had begun to believe the conflict was over. While browsing at a home goods store, I turned a corner and saw them, Amanda and Michael. My heart kicked hard. Amanda saw me and rushed forward. Dad, please wait. Don't run. We just want to talk. 5 minutes, that's all. How did you find me? I borrowed a friend's phone and called your old contacts. Someone mentioned the villa. Michael hung back, and Amanda requested to talk alone. Every cell in my body warned me, but I was curious. 10 minutes. There's a coffee shop nearby. We sat at a corner table. I paid for the coffees out of old habit. I've been awful to you. I can admit that now. I took everything you gave and demanded more. I never appreciated what you did for us. She sounded genuinely exhausted. Michael can't find work. I'm working 2 jobs just to cover rent. Every day is stress about money. What do you want from me, Amanda? Why drive all the way to Carmel? I don't want money. I want my father back. I want a chance to show you I can change. You've said you've changed before. After every incident, there's an apology. Then the pattern repeats. I know, her voice cracked. But this is different. Living without your support, it showed me things I didn't see before. Amanda, I hear what you're saying. Words are easy. Change is hard. I'm not closing the door forever, but trust is earned over time, not in one conversation. What does that mean? Show me through actions, not promises. Get your life stable on your own. Build something independently. In a year, maybe 2. If you've demonstrated real change, we can talk about rebuilding. Tears began, quiet overflow, not manipulative sobbing. A year. You're saying I might not see you for an entire year. That's what it takes to rebuild trust after it's been destroyed. I didn't destroy it. Repairing it is your responsibility. I stood. I wish you well, Amanda. I truly hope you figure things out. She remained seated, slumping in defeat. That evening, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Thank you for listening. Signed, Amanda. I didn't respond. Mid-July, the Sacramento house sale progressed. I accepted a $670,000 offer. The price is fair and I want it done. Start the paperwork. I was ready to close that chapter. I spent the afternoon severing every last financial thread. An old credit card removed, emergency contact on my bank account changed, life insurance policy beneficiary switched to the charity. Late July brought another call from my cousin Janet. Have you heard the news? Amanda and Michael are separated. Their marriage is falling apart. Are you satisfied now? Janet, their marriage problems existed long before I set boundaries. I'm not responsible for their relationship choices. I felt no satisfaction, only the recognition that their alliance, built on exploitation, had nothing solid underneath when the resource disappeared. Late August, I received a formal email from Russell Graves. Request for meeting regarding settlement discussion. She wanted money. I called Patricia. This is a fishing expedition. We set the meeting for the weekend. At Patricia's office, I faced Amanda and her lawyer. Michael was absent. The separation was real. Russell hinted at $50,000 to $100,000 in financial assistance. Patricia cut him off. Mr. Coleman has no legal obligation to provide financial support to an adult child. I took over, addressing Amanda directly. Amanda, I'll be clear because I want no misunderstanding. There will be no money, no settlement, no ongoing financial support. That door is permanently closed. I've restructured my estate. The majority of my assets will go to charitable organizations. You'll receive a portion, but only after my death, and the amount is already determined. Nothing changes that. If you want a relationship with me, a real relationship based on mutual respect, that possibility still exists. But it requires genuine, sustained change over time. I'm done being used as a financial resource. If you want a father, I'm here. If you want a bank account, look elsewhere. Amanda's eyes filled with defeated tears. So that's it. You're just done with me. I'm done with the version of you that sees me as an obligation and a resource. If you become someone different, we can talk, but that's entirely up to you. I drove back to Carmel that afternoon, feeling that this might be the last time I ever saw Amanda. That possibility hurt, but it was less painful than continued exploitation. I woke before dawn on August 31st. A FedEx truck arrived mid-morning with the final documents. Final trust document signed, notarized, filed. Certificate confirming charitable trust establishment. Updated will with new beneficiary designations. Everything was legally complete, unchangeable, protected. I stood on the living room floor, a new man in a new life. I had sacrificed a broken relationship to reclaim self-respect, a painful but necessary choice. The $3.2 million for the Veterans Charity was now secure, ensuring my life's work would build real solutions, not fund reckless lifestyles. My future, finally, was mine. No loopholes, no room for contests, no ambiguity. There was a strange peace in knowing that if I died tomorrow, my wishes would be carried out exactly as intended. The afternoon arrived. Patricia texted, confirming that Amanda had not shown for the follow-up meeting. I think that's your answer. She's done trying. Congratulations on holding firm. You've earned your peace. Later, my phone vibrated with a text from an unknown number. She had found a way around the block. The text read, "Maybe someday I'll understand what I did wrong. Maybe someday I'll be the person you needed me to be. But right now I can't. I'm sorry for everything. Goodbye, Dad." I read it 3 times. It sounded like defeat, not manipulation. There were no requests, no hooks, just farewell. My finger hovered over the keyboard. I could offer encouragement, but any response might be interpreted as weakness, restarting the cycle. She needed to change for herself, not for me. I set the phone down without responding. A wave of sadness washed over me. This might be permanent. All the memories of the daughter I had raised led to this ending. Yet, there was also clarity. I had done the right thing. Sometimes love means letting people face consequences. Sometimes boundaries are the most loving thing you can offer. Evening arrived, and I remained on the terrace, processing everything. The sun began its descent toward the Pacific, painting the sky spectacular shades of orange, pink, and purple. I thought about the man I had been 6 months ago, the one who would have caved to the villa invasion, who absorbed years of exploitation without protest, who funded his adult daughter's entire life without question. That man was gone, replaced by someone who knew his worth, who protected what he had built, and who set boundaries even when it hurt. Victory didn't feel like triumph. It felt like survival. I hadn't destroyed Amanda and Michael. I had simply stopped enabling them. Their struggles were consequences of their choices, not my cruelty. The Sacramento house now belonged to a nice young family. My money would help veterans who truly needed it. Amanda had enough inheritance to build something if she chose wisely. The sun touched the ocean horizon. Golden light flooded the villa. I stood, looking around the property. This was mine. Paid for with decades of work, protected by law, enjoyed in freedom. No one demanding access, no one feeling entitled, no one manipulating. Tomorrow, September would begin. My phone stayed silent. Amanda's goodbye had been final. I accepted that. I picked up my cold coffee mug, walked inside, and smiled slightly, the first genuine smile in months. Tomorrow would arrive unburdened. Justice restored through boundaries, not destruction. Freedom earned through courage, not cruelty. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the right. Thank you for watching.